Welcome to Wealth Hustle 247 podcast, your trusted guide to financial literacy, business innovation, and entrepreneurial success. Learn how to grow your wealth, make informed decisions, and turn your ideas into profitable ventures.
Hey, welcome to How to Budget and Save Effectively in Nigeria. If you've ever struggled to stretch your naira or save consistently, this podcast is for you. We're breaking down simple, practical ways to manage your money and grow your savings, starting today.
Welcome back to the deep dive. So if you've ever felt like your income, no matter what size it is playing a game of hide and seek with your bank account, you know that financial stability isn't just about making money.
No.
It's about mastering how to keep it.
How to keep it and grow it, yeah.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into some source material that's all about achieving financial security.
Yeah.
And disciplined budgeting.
Right.
What I think is so compelling here is that it pulls lessons that seem to apply across all income levels. And they're synthesized into 10 foundational principles, all designed with the specific economic environment of Nigeria in mind. Our mission really is to extract those 10 proven actionable nuggets and give you a kind of foundational roadmap to long-term financial control.
And it's a crucial mission because,
Yeah.
look, while the economic landscape might have its own unique challenges like, high inflation or currency volatility, the core principles of personal finance, they're remarkably universal.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And what's fascinating is that the sources really emphasize that success doesn't begin with, like, advanced mathematics or spreadsheets. It starts with your mindset, with radical self-awareness.
So the best budgeting method in the world just fails if that discipline isn't there first.
It's dead on arrival. Absolutely.
Okay, let's unpack that. If discipline is really the root, then the first and probably most uncomfortable step is getting that radical self-awareness. Let's call this the principle of understanding financial reality.
Yes.
And this is more than just, glancing at your account balance. This is like conducting a forensic audit of your money.
It is a forensic audit. It requires meticulous tracking. I mean, we are talking about knowing every single source of income, no matter how small or how infrequent, and tracking every single expense.
Every single one.
Every single one. And that tracking, it's not just for, documentation. It immediately feeds into the categorization system that the sources recommend.
Which is the classic, but, absolutely essential division of spending into 3 buckets.
The 3 buckets: needs, wants, and savings or investments.
All right.
Your needs are the non-negotiables. So rent, utilities, basic food, essential transport. Your wants, that's discretionary. Dining out, new clothes, premium subscriptions.
So if you can't categorize an expense into one of those 3, you haven't really understood your financial reality yet.
Exactly. That categorization is foundational because it shows you exactly where your money is actually going versus where you think it's going.
That clarity is so powerful. But, okay, before we get too deep into the mechanics, let's jump to what you call the ultimate truth. If someone starts tracking today, but they don't have that internal motivation, the whole thing just collapses, right?
It absolutely does. And this brings us to the principle of building the right money mindset. The sources are, well, they're unequivocal on this. Discipline, consistency, and patience. Those are the non-negotiable pillars.
More than how much you earn.
So much more. They matter far more for achieving long-term security than the size of your paycheck. Think about it. A person earning, say, N1.5 million monthly, who is inconsistent and undisciplined, can easily spend N1.6 million.
And end up in debt.
Exactly.
And in an environment where inflation is constantly attacking the purchasing power of the Naira, consistency isn't just good practice, it's a necessary defense mechanism.
It's survival. And the sources suggest cultivating that discipline through a kind of mental reframing.
How so?
While we often see saving as optional or like a reward you give yourself if there's leftovers at the end of the month.
Right.
The successful mindset, according to this research, treats savings like a required tax payment. It's non-negotiable, it's prioritized above everything else. And that mental shift makes consistency a matter of duty, not choice.
A duty. I like that. So we've got the tracking and we have the mindset, but life happens, right?
Well,
Even the best laid plans go awry, which must lead us to the need for continuous maintenance.
that's the principle of regular review. A budget isn't static. It can't be. It has to be a dynamic document. And the sources insist that review must happen monthly.
Monthly. Why so often?
Well, your personal income can shift, sure, But more importantly, in this specific context, the prices of essentials, fuel, food, transport, they can change dramatically from one week to the next.
So if you set your budget in January and you don't look at it again until April, the inflation rate has already eaten away your carefully calculated allocation for needs.
Precisely. You are forcing yourself into reactive spending. That monthly check-in lets you course correct immediately, ensuring your budget stays relevant and you stay in control.
It stops a small budget leak today from becoming a catastrophe 6 months from now.
That's the idea.
Okay, so that brings us squarely to the mechanics. Once we know where the money went with tracking and we've committed to the discipline with the mindset, the next step is finding a system that tells us where the money should go. Let's talk budgeting methods.
That's the principle of choosing a budgeting method. And people often freeze up here because there are just so many options. The key is to pick one that genuinely fits your lifestyle and your personality, and then stick to it.
Sticking to it is the hard part. Our sources highlighted 3 powerful options. The most popular one seems to be the 50-30-20 rule.
Yeah, the 50-30-20 rule is so straightforward. It's 50% of your income for needs, 30% for wants, and that last 20% must go immediately into savings or debt repayment.
It's flexible. Good for people who don't want to micromanage every single naira.
Exactly. But then you have its stricter cousin, zero-based budgeting.
This one sounds quite intense.
It is intense, but it's incredibly effective for people who need maximum control. Zero-based budgeting means assigning every single naira of your income a job before the month even begins.
So income minus expenses literally equals 0.
Literally 0. If you earn N100,000, that entire N100,000 must be specifically allocated, even if N5,000 is just allocated to fund money.
Okay. And then there's the old school analog version, the envelope system.
The envelope system is perfect for people who struggle with impulse spending, using debit cards. You withdraw cash for certain categories, say food and entertainment, put the cash in physical envelopes, and when the envelope is empty, the spending stops.
It's a very real physical stop sign.
A visceral stopping mechanism that electronic banking can kind of obscure.
All solid options.
Sorry.
But they are completely useless if you treat savings as an afterthought. Which brings us right into the principle of paying yourself first. This is really the mechanical lever of success, isn't it?
It is the single most important mechanical step. It connects right back to that mindset we talked about. You don't save what's left after spending. You spend what's left after saving.
And the source is stress automation here.
Oh, absolutely. Saving should be automated, transferred to a separate, untouchable account the instant you get your income. It just eliminates both inconsistency and the temptation to spend it.
And once that automated saving is set up, the first and most critical use for those funds has to be the principle of building an emergency fund. This is your financial foundation, your shock absorber.
It is.
Let's be specific here. What are the requirements for this fund?
2 key requirements. First, it must be robust enough to cover 3 to 6 months of your essential living expenses. And note, not your entire salary, but your core needs: rent, food, basic bills.
And the second requirement.
Second, and this is where the technical clarity is so important, it has to be kept in a liquid account.
Liquid. Can you quickly clarify for the listener why liquidity is so critical here?
Of course, liquidity just means it can be accessed quickly and easily without any penalty. An emergency fund is not meant to be invested in volatile assets like stocks or crypto.
Or even tied up in a fixed deposit.
Exactly. No fixed deposits with penalties for early withdrawal. It has to be available instantly if you face a job loss, a medical crisis, or a sudden rent hike. Investment is for growing wealth. The emergency fund is purely for protection.
That makes the distinction very clear. Now, keeping all these mechanics smooth, the tracking, the automation, the liquidity, it all requires modern tools. That brings us to the principle of using financial technology.
This is where the local context really shines. You should be leveraging Nigerian fintech platforms aggressively. We're talking about using apps that specifically automate recurring savings, track your expenses by syncing with your bank account, and crucially, offer platforms to invest or save in dollar-denominated assets.
Which is a huge deal.
It's huge. In an environment with high naira volatility, technology gives you accessible tools for hedging that currency risk and enforcing the very discipline we discussed earlier. Your tech should be the seamless enforcer of your budget.
I really appreciate that, framing technology as an enforcer. Okay, so now we move into optimization. If paying yourself first secures the future, the next step is protecting the present flow of money by plugging any leaks.
That's the principle of cutting unnecessary expenses. And this requires brutal honesty. a forensic analysis of that tracking data we talked about. You have to find the specific spending leaks that are eroding your cash.
What are the most common leaks the sources highlighted?
Well, they listed 3 major culprits that seem to plague nearly everyone. First, impulse purchases. That unplanned stop for fast food or the item you just add to your online cart at the last second.
We've all been there.
Oh, yeah. Second, unused subscriptions, the services you signed up for and totally forgot about. And third, excessive social spending.
That last one is significant in many cultures.
It is. Think of the pressure for frequent social outings or contributing to every large family or communal event like Aso-Ebi when your budget just cannot handle it. These small, repeated drains, they sink the ship faster than one big expense.
It's the constant drip that empties the bucket. And the only way you survive the pain of cutting those leaks is if you have a clear destination in mind, which is the principle of setting clear financial goals.
Goals give purpose to your pain. Without a clear goal, cutting that subscription just feels like deprivation. With a goal, say, saving for your child's next school fees, cutting it feels like progress.
And the sources insist on using the SMART framework.
Right. And it's important to really use it, not just say the word.
Let's break that down because a lot of people throw that acronym around without using it effectively.
Okay, so SMART. Your goals must be specific. What exactly are you saving for? Measurable. How much is the target amount? Achievable? Is it realistic with your income? Relevant, does this goal actually matter to you? And time-bound, by what exact date will you hit this target?
So a general wish to save more is worthless.
Useless. But a goal to save N$500,000 for vocational training by December 31st, that guides every single financial decision you make.
Finally, before we look at a practical example, we have to talk about the landmine that just destroys financial progress for so many people.
This is the principle of avoiding debt traps. And the advice here is extremely cautionary. The primary target to avoid is high-interest consumer loans. These are loans for items that depreciate immediately. Electronics, clothes, even luxury cars.
Instant gratification, long-term pain.
Exactly.
Wait, I want to challenge that just slightly. In a high-inflation economy, if I need a necessary appliance, say a refrigerator, and I can secure a relatively low-interest loan, is there any gray area where borrowing might be acceptable instead of letting inflation just eat away the cash I'm slowly saving up?
That's a really good challenge, but the source material maintains a very strict line here, and it's designed for safety and stability. The hard rule for borrowing is this: only take on debt when it demonstrably increases your income or productivity.
Okay, so what does that look like?
Think inventory for a small business, a vital piece of professional equipment, or funding for higher education. These are assets that generate future cash flow to pay back the debt.
But a refrigerator doesn't.
A refrigerator, even a necessary one, doesn't generate income, and therefore its purchase should be funded only by savings. The philosophy is stability over convenience.
Stability over convenience. A clear and tough standard. That brings us to the payoff. Let's take these 10 principles and see them in action. Our sources gave a sample monthly budget, and seeing the numbers really shows how it all works together.
Yeah, we can analyze the specific breakdown they provided for a monthly income of N$150,000. And this example, it clearly uses the 50-30-20 structure as a starting point, but it actually pushes the savings rate higher.
Right, to reflect that discipline we talked about.
Exactly.
So how does that N$150,000 get allocated? And how does that cover the essentials in a major Nigerian city?
In this structure, 50% is strictly allocated to needs, which is N$75,000. This has to cover the essentials, a portion for rent, maybe shared, food, utilities, and transport. It's the bare minimum to live sustainably. Next, 20% goes to wants, totaling N$30,000. This is your discretionary buffer. It allows for social activities, personal care, or entertainment. And crucially, because you've tracked and categorized everything, you know that when this N$30,000 is gone, all non-essential spending stops.
End of story. And what about that crucial third bucket?
So 30% is dedicated to savings and investments, which amounts to N$45,000. By allocating 30% upfront, which is higher than the standard rule, you're immediately implementing the principle of paying yourself first. You're securing that N$45,000 before bills or social pressures can even touch it.
So this sample budget really demonstrates that even with a moderate income, high financial discipline is entirely possible.
It's entirely possible, but only when you stick to a clear, consistent structure.
So what does this all mean? We've laid out the 10 steps, right? From the mental framework of discipline and consistency, through the mechanics of automation and building that liquid safety net, right down to optimizing expenses and setting clear, measurable goals. This whole structure, it's a reliable roadmap to financial stability, no matter what your starting income is.
And if we look across all the source material, the biggest stumbling block is never the math. It's the mental commitment. Budgeting requires choosing a method that genuinely fits your unique lifestyle, whether that's the simplicity of 50-30-20 or the rigor of zero-based budgeting, and then committing to it, sticking with it consistently, month after month, even when the economy shifts.
That stick-to-itness is the real difference maker.
It is the difference between drafting a good budget on paper and actually achieving financial freedom.
That commitment starts right now. Consider the principle of cutting unnecessary expenses. We listed those 3 main spending leaks: impulse buys, unused subscriptions, and excessive social spending. As you listen, identify the single biggest spending leak in your own current habits, the one you know you could eliminate today. Don't wait for next year. Use your next monthly budget review to draft an immediate surgical plan for its elimination. That decisive first action is the real start toward lasting financial stability.
That's it for today's episode of Wealth Hustle 247. Be sure to follow, like, comment, and share with others. Keep pushing toward your goals, and we'll see you in the next episode.